Hi, Dick Wagner here with the Crest Network. Welcome to our regular Tuesday webinar. Today I want to talk to you about subject matter expertise. You see it a lot, you hear it a lot, SME. It's in a lot of magazines and articles and a lot of topics on the internet. So I want to explain it a little bit more, elaborate a little bit more on exactly what is subject matter expertise and how you have or how you can get subject matter expertise. So let's just dive in and go through each of these slides. Subject matter expertise is extremely vital when you're trying to build relationships with clients. I want to show you how to show it. I want to explain to you how you can have subject matter expertise and you get knowledge, you get experience, and then you seek opportunities to expand upon and share that SME information. It requires you, and this is going to be tough for some of you, it requires you to learn information, not about you, not about how to, suck up water or dry a building or clean a fire damaged property. It requires you to learn information about your client, your prospective client, and their industry. That's the difference between becoming an expert in your own field and an expert or a subject matter expert in your client's field and industry. Demonstrating subject matter expertise really requires continuous learning. It requires some practical experience where you're going to participate in maybe some workshops and conferences for their industry, not your own. And it also requires really good communication. Some of the characteristics, and this is by certainly not all of the characteristics, but some of the characteristics are, and I'm going to list them right out here, depth of knowledge. You've got to have a deeper knowledge of, let's say, insurance and the insurance industry and calling on insurance agents. You've got to have a deeper knowledge than just how to spell the word insurance or how to say insurance agent and know the difference between an insurance agent and an insurance carrier. It goes way beyond those very basic things. Depth of knowledge is understanding the differences between different types of insurance policies, knowing the difference between an HO3 and an HO5 homeowners policy. Those demonstrate your expertise when you know them and if you expound upon them. It requires critical thinking. Not all of us are going to admit that we're very good at critical thinking, but critical thinking is where you analyze complex issues, and the way to achieve success in that is to break them down into very manageable components and then develop innovative solutions for those specific individual components that all together, when they're put all together, demonstrate that you have extensive knowledge about that particular topic or subject matter. problem solving. There's been a lot said about, um, oh, well, part of a marketer's responsibility is to problem solve. Part of a salesman's responsibility is to offer problem solving solutions. Well, we get confused on what that really means. An awful lot of people think that the first thing they got to do is go in there and expound upon their solution about how they're going to solve the problem. But you've got to approach the challenges, the issues that exist from many different angles. It's going to require asking 100 questions in a conversational manner to learn. Because when you say, hey, what's your number one pain as an insurance agent? They're never going to tell you. They're never going to tell you what their number one pain is. They're going to beat around the bush. They're going to whitewash it. They're going to not be willing to share with you all of the inner workings and details. You're going to have to know some pertinent questions, pertinent issues, pertinent pains in order to extract that kind of information from them. And only once you do that, only then can you start offering problem-solving solutions. And let's be very, very clear here. You can't just, I mean, who wants this? I've got a solution for you. I've got a way to solve your problem. Well, hey, wait a minute. I didn't necessarily think I had a problem. You can't be the problem solver to somebody and tell them you're going to solve their problem when they don't necessarily want to embrace your solution or your ideas or your thoughts. And certainly, if they didn't tell you that was a problem, they don't want to hear your solution to a problem that you think they might have. Number 4 is continuous learning. I'm not a kid anymore. And from the time I left high school until now, I have read and studied and learned. I read upwards of one business book a week, and not every single week, certainly, but a couple a month. Business books. I subscribe to plumber industry magazines. I subscribe to insurance agent industry magazines. I subscribe to insurance carrier industry magazines. I subscribe to wholesale supply house magazines. I subscribe to electrical magazines and contractor magazines and flooring magazines. And I read those things. Now, I don't read every word of every magazine. Of course not. But I get the gist, the overall concept of what that particular industry or topic is about. That's my level of continuous learning. So I've arrived at today knowing a pretty good amount of information about a pretty broad area. Now, I'm not reading books on brain surgery, but I do learn lots of different things. And then every now and then I'll throw in a book on an autobiography or a biography on somebody like Vladimir Putin or Yeltsin or George Washington, things like that, just to give me a more rounded and broader learning base. You really need to know, and when you read the number of magazines like I read, you tend to know what the latest trends and issues are for a specific industry. Those magazines are a perfect way, and you know what's really funny? You can subscribe to those magazines for free. They want you on their mailing list, so they'll send them to you for free. How you demonstrate subject matter expertise. Now I'm going to show you several ways that you can actually demonstrate it. I've already shown you ways that you can get SME, ways that you can get the expertise and the understanding and a broader base of knowledge for a particular client or industry. Now I want to show you some ways to demonstrate it. First off, it requires very effective and useful communication. And some of you might say, well, I'm not a particularly really good communicator. My vocabulary is a little bit more limited. I'm pretty young. I'm in my 20s, and so I don't have that deep understanding and background and knowledge that you have as a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old. Well, I can tell you, being able to present in a clear and concise manner comes from just simply reading that information, learning that information, listening to videos on YouTube. When you are skilled at helping the novice, you start to understand how to present it at an expert level. Hearing videos being explained, watching YouTube videos, listening to our Crestcast podcasts on Spotify. It will really help you with your broader subject matter expertise and being able to share it and communicate it correctly. I recommend that you do some simple writings and or even some publications. I'm absolutely sure that you have expertise in a particular field or industry or process. And there is no reason why you can't write a short article about it. I've had articles published in R&R magazine and C&R magazine. I've had articles published in contractor magazines. And I understand not everybody really feels comfortable with writing. Some of us, it's like, you might think it's like standing up and doing public speaking. You're not good at spelling, and you're not good at vocabulary, and you're not good at punctuation. Well, you know what? In this day and age, Grammarly and other spell check services, Microsoft Word, for example, has an editor button right on it. Once you write the article, click the editor button, and it's going to go through and tell you what words you could use in place of other words. It's going to tell you whether you put a period where you should have put a comma. It's going to tell you all of that stuff. And write those articles and submit them to various publications. And you know what? If you don't have the guts to start out writing those articles and sending them to your publications, write articles that matter to your client. And write them and print them out and hand them out to your clients. They'll be impressed. They'll appreciate it. and it will make you stand out different than every other marketer that goes waltzing through their doors. Putting some of your SME, your subject matter expertise, into short articles on LinkedIn will add to your credibility. Every week I post an article, a blog type article that I've written. Every week I put one on LinkedIn. And I can tell you that last week, the last article that I put on LinkedIn had 65 people read it. That's 65 exposures to me, showing my subject matter expertise. Teaching and training. Yeah, I do it all the time. I teach, I'll teach every couple weeks. I'm in front of a group of people or a classroom doing teaching and training. Now, my area of expertise is really marketing and how the restoration marketer can be a top performer. We absolutely believe that a marketer in restoration can be a $1 million producer. No question in my mind. We've got two particular marketers that I'm thinking of right now, just off the top of my head, that are generating, originally when we started working with them 4 years or 5 years ago, they were generating about $600,000 or $700,000 a year. I know that two of them today, as of now, which is what, not quite 11 months in the year, they're at $3.5 million in revenue each that they're bringing into the company. You can do that by speaking to almost any group, one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-five, a small insurance agent group, a small group of plumbers, and expand beyond that. Lunch and learns are extremely popular with insurance agents. Doing short presentations at a BNI group or at the local Chamber of Commerce meetings. They're very easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of guts to get up in front of a small group like that. You can even speak at the PHCC, Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Associations. There are many, many of them in many cities. My goal here for you in an SME environment is to simply be an authority. And number 4, so it's an expansion on what I've been talking about. Networking and industry meetings, they're all over the place, they're everywhere. Some of them are done on Zoom, and that way you can do the presentation on Zoom and you're not actually in front of a room of 5 or 10 or 15 or 20. I'm on Zoom many, many times a week, working one-on-one or one-on-two or one-on-3 with clients. But I'm also on Zoom for other things, such as I'm on Zoom for court when I'm representing a child in foster care. And I'm on Zoom where there might be 30 people on there, from lawyers and the judge and the other key people in the foster care world. It's not that intimidating. You don't pick your nose while you're on camera. Meeting and talking with other industry experts. So many of us say, oh, I'm not going to talk to that marketer. She's my competition. I'm not going to give away anything to her. You don't have to, but you should be talking to them. They may be willing to give away information to you. That would be very helpful for you to learn that information. The less intimidated you are by interacting with your competition, the more intimidated they are. And the more intimidated they are, the stronger position you're in. Don't be afraid to participate in conferences and in seminars and in webinars. Podcasts, you can do a podcast. Geez, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. We've got, as of right now, almost 1,000 downloads from Spotify of our podcasts on Crest. In podcasts, you're not in front of a camera. You're just in front of a microphone. You record it and you put it up there. And you know what? If I hiccup or I burp or I sneeze during my podcast, you know what? Hey, I'm human. It happens. Not a big deal. I write blog articles. I write at least 2 a week. They go on Crest Library and thecrestnetwork.com. crestlibrary.com or thecrestnetwork.com. Those blog articles are primarily subject matter expertise articles. And there is a myriad, 1,000 different angles or topics or ideas or concepts about marketing that I'm able to share. And I do. I already told you earlier, I read lots of industry books. You know, my general field in marketing, working with restoration marketers, is really about helping them be better at being in front of plumbers and plumbing companies and supply houses and insurance agents and property management agents, property managers and HOAs, homeowner association management. And I read magazines on all of them. I read magazines on property management. You can also, and I recognize that many of you are young. You're in the mid-20s to 30, 35, 40. You can join Young Entrepreneur Council, the YEC, in many of the cities, and that gives you the ability to rub elbows with other people, young entrepreneurs, young business people that can help advance your career. Now, I'm certainly not advocating that you join one of them so you can get a different job with a new company, but sometimes that happens. I recommend that you join LinkedIn groups that are of local nature. If you are a member of, or if you're on LinkedIn, there are in many areas, you know, Detroit, Cleveland, Boston, St. Louis, there are LinkedIn groups, networking groups that you can join in those communities. And you know what's wild is if you want to join a networking group in your community or your county or your market, and there doesn't happen to be one, absolutely free, you can create one in LinkedIn and then send out invites to everybody in that general area that's on LinkedIn that could join that group. And now you're the administrator of it. You have that contact info for that particular group. I know one particular lady that's had created her own networking group in kind of an obscure community. Today she has 3,000 1,000 members in that local group on LinkedIn. And she's the administrator and the lead of that group. And it's gotten so big that they periodically have events where anybody that's a member of that LinkedIn group can show up at the local corner coffee shop or bar or restaurant on a certain day and time just to network and chat in person. Something else, make sure you have a unique business card. Your unique business card shouldn't say, hey, I'm Dick Wagner, business developer, or my title is business development. Geez, why don't you just hang a sign on your back that says, I'm a salesman? Nobody likes that. When you think of the word salesman, it's distasteful to you almost always. So your business card should say something like relationship ambassador or a tactical specialist, not the standard marketer or business development. Drives me up a wall when people are so unoriginal and unthinking outside the box that they're stuck with exactly what they think they do. And when you think you're in business development, you're going to put business development on your business card. But when you think of yourself as a relationship ambassador, you're going to strive for building relationships. And I already said, and this goes beyond the BNI group or the chamber group. Think about it. Create your own networking group. Not on LinkedIn, just in your own hometown. I have a marketer right now on the East Coast that she's created her own networking group of, get this, plumber wives. She's got great relationships with dozens upon dozens of plumbers, and almost all of them have wives or girlfriends. And so every couple weeks, she has a networking meeting at a local, popular, private, not a Dunkin' Donut, but a private coffee shop where the owner appreciates the additional business that she brings in. And she has a simple rule. It's a networking group for plumber wives and girlfriends, but you can't talk business. And it lasts for an hour or two. And guess what? Those wives go home and rave about that group and about that marketing manager that was in charge of that group, and praise that person and make sure that their husband or boyfriend gives her referrals. That's huge. That's way, way, way outside the box, but it's highly effective. The reality is that in a world driven by information and constant invention, subject matter experts have to be industry smart. They have to be able to teach their clients and prospects and teach them. I have it here in parentheses, teach them without arrogance. Don't be a cocky jerk about it. And then make sure your goal is always to help the prospect or the client. I want to thank you for clicking on this link, watching this YouTube video, watching this webinar. I'm Dick Wagner on behalf of Bill Giannone, all of the staff at the Crest Network, the Crest blog sites, CrestLibrary.com, thecrestnetwork.com, Spotify for Crestcasts. All of that information is something we put together to help you. Thanks so much for watching and listening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.